Welcome back to my channel, Star Wars fans. It is time to discuss Andor Episode 5. As we do every week, we got it right here on Wednesdays to talk all the episodes and all the spoilers. And this might just be my favorite episode thus far, where it even makes Episode 4 better. In retrospect, Cassian still navigating the distrust inherent in being a new member of this team who constantly looks at him sideways, and we see that spread through all the character stories in this episode, be it Mon Mothma, who begins to see her husband beginning to be more cordial, more open to talking to her, more validating her opinions and wanting to hear her out, and she just begins to think that that is kinda sus, man. Even Dedra Meero continues feeling compelled to investigate these random occurrences mid-rim that she just doesn't believe are actually random, immediately getting help from an inferior officer who believes her gut instinct, where last week she had to struggle to be heard. So again, it feels just slightly suspicious. So it's a nice, natural continuation of the themes from last week's episode of trust and distrust. And the tensions are on an all-time high here. The entire team continues to suspect Cassian or Clem is hiding something, and they still don't fully trust him. He's being questioned at every turn with every look he gives. And Diego Luna, man, he does so much in these two episodes, particularly last week. He says so much without a single word. The dialogue for Cassian throughout these two episodes is so minimal, and yet you get everything that he is thinking, how he's strategizing inside his head, and even when he gets confronted about the Sky Kyber pendant in his neck, you can see the gears turning on him. How can he not tell the truth about what is actually going on and still make it out of every situation alive? And we begin to see how the survivor Cassian Andor is eventually gonna become team member Cassian Andor, who's willing to die for a cause bigger than himself. I find the slow, methodical, and even strategic character arc that he's going through in this show so compellingly told. And the show is not rushing through anything. It's taking these several different blocks of story to assemble the pieces very deliberately. It's a slow burn of a show. It's a slow burn thriller. This is how actual spy work feels. If you go watch any spy show, not necessarily a James Bond movie, a Mission Impossible movie, but Bodyguard, for instance, these long-ranging spy stories, that's how they move. They're very slow. At points it feels like nothing is happening because everything just has to be carefully thought out. Every step has to be carefully taken. And that's what this show is doing. And I love that this show is doing that. Again, last week didn't quite land too well for me, but this week's episode, the scene where they're training to walk like soldiers and the TIEs come in, and my ears just melt when you hear the sound of a TIE fighter. That has got to be the greatest creation sound-wise in the history of cinema. And I talked about this in my premiere review for the first 3 episodes, but this episode continues to dive deeper into bringing the war to Star Wars. It's really allowing us to see the elaborate strategies, how each and every team member thinks, what they bring to the table, and we get to see it from both sides. Cassian is with the others, and where the infiltrating Imperial officer, what part is he taking in this mission, how they are helping one another. And to me, that makes this show great because this episode illustrates the danger of a mission like this. It shows the real weight of bringing a rebellion to life. And it gives you that sense of stakes and a sense of lives can be lost. And people are actually doing sacrifices. You feel the weight of sacrifice lingering over these characters' head. You understand what they've lost because of conversations that emerge between Skeen and Cassian, or any of the others, really. They begin to show some vulnerability, so those emotional walls start to crumble down. But you see how they're willing to die for this cause. And that is so important for a story like this, where a shorter series, where the finale would be already next week, would not allow for this level of depth and understanding and elaborate scheming of all its moving pieces. It really feels like a cerebral spy show within the universe of Star Wars. First 3 episodes were the first step. Now we're slowly taking that second step. We're slowly moving our pieces across the chessboard. And the scene that really brings it home for me is the final moments with Luthen, who knows this mission is so dangerous and he's put all these people in danger. He's treated them all as expendables, all to reach this higher goal that will cost their lives, but will bring more life, hopefully, to the wider galaxy. 7 or 6 lives are worth 1,000, but at the same time, the guilt begins to weigh on him. He begins to sense the actual cost of such a mission, such an uncertain endeavor that they're not sure they can bring this rebellion to life. So even though our characters toasted the rebellion, it's something that doesn't really exist. It's something that the show does a great job at making it not feel palpable. Despite us knowing what is going to happen in the rest of the history of Star Wars, we understand that somehow, some way, these characters will be successful. And I think the understanding of Rogue One existing, knowing the sacrifice the characters have to make in that film, makes the stakes feel more real. Yes, you're going to accomplish the mission, but at what cost? And that's exactly what Luthen Rain is asking himself at the end of this episode. So I just really love the elaborating exploration of tension, be it the outer conflict these characters are ready to face, or the inner conflict within themselves. What are they fighting for, and what is Cassian seeing in all of these characters? Because like he says, when they have that big confrontation, he wants the money. That's it. This dude is not fighting for any higher cause. He's not a righteous warrior of justice. He's not a hero. He's a survivor day in and day out. He doesn't trust anyone. He doesn't want anyone touching his stuff or even touching him. But you see him warming up as these people begin to show their vulnerability, so he begins to show his, even if inadvertently. And before I dive into my final thoughts on this week's Andor, I need you to start the conversation about it in the comments below. What do you think about the Star Wars show thus far? How do you rank all the live-action Disney Plus Star Wars series? And what do you expect to see next week as we probably end this block of the stage in the series? Anything and everything down there. And if you're enjoying this Andor review, if you're joining me every week to talk Andor, or if you just love movies and TV, this is the place to be. So consider clicking that subscribe button down there, and you won't miss any future conversations on your favorite movies and TV. Where episode 4 of Andor was dedicated to our understanding of the Empire's iron grip on the wider galaxy, episode 5 is dedicated to the heart of the rebellion. It doesn't paint a pretty picture of good versus evil, but a morally gray picture of what actually is the cost of fighting for something bigger than ourselves. Sacrifice is needed, and the weight of it is fully felt in this story. So episode 5 of Andor really was a nail-biting experience. The chilling tone and score of this slow burn thriller really is seeping into each and every one of these characters. Every frame feels so necessary, and it really gives you an understanding of the massive scope of this mission that they are taking. So last week really stumbled a little bit for me, but this one brought it back into pace, and it's bringing it all together in very compelling ways with characters that I really didn't know their names last week, and now I find myself emotionally invested in seeing them succeed. That's what Rogue One did for me. That's what this show is doing, slowly but surely. And that is those are just my thoughts on episode 5 of Andor. Let me know what you make of it in the comments below. How do you rank all the episodes? Is this your favorite Star Wars show thus far? And what do you expect to see next week? Anything and everything down there. Thank you so much for watching. Big thanks to my channel members for always supporting the channel. So until the next one, love each other and love the movies.